that empathy isn't a soft skill, it's also a strategy for progress to create radical change. And
Mm.
that is the most bossy thing.
I don't think you can accomplish anything in your life at all without collaborating. You alone might have a great idea, but you need a community in order to execute on that and really move change forward. When we have more women in leadership roles, we have more equity in the system. Everybody needs more equitable policies, more equitable laws.
Yeah.
And whatever we can do to have more equity in leadership the world will be better for it. To watch, hundreds and thousands of women like really own their voice and their giving is
Yeah.
just truly incredible. It's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Today on Hello, I'm Bossy, we're with Jennifer Alcorn, who's the Deputy Director of Global Partnership Development at the Gates Foundation, which is a big title to kind of go along with some of the really big things you have done. You pioneered the creation of the Gates Philanthropy Partners, which is a public charity where people can donate along with the foundation. You worked with Bill Gates to devise the Polio Eradication Fund, which makes me want to cry thinking about it, helping over 500 million children, 1 billion doses of polio vaccine. What a huge undertaking. And then you also set up things in the Middle East and Asia, and you started a group for women with philanthropy to help educate them, which I was just talking to my mom about, and she was like, "I want to join. How do I join this?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know how you join." Um, but I kind of wanted to start with this collaboration piece that you do. You are a leader who obviously collaborates very closely with other people. This is your job. And I feel like with philanthropies and NGOs, and at times it feels like a competition between
Mm.
them. So why is collaboration such a key in this field?
It's a really good question. I mean, I don't think you can accomplish anything in your life at all without collaborating,
Yeah.
but especially in philanthropy, the problems that people are trying to tackle are just so big. You can't tackle them alone. You alone might have a great idea, but you need a community in order to execute on that and really move change forward.
Mhm.
And you have to convince people and bring them along and take their ideas,
Mhm.
right? And that's what makes this work so great. And that's, for the really successful programs, it's because there's been so much collaboration and so many different people coming in and supporting something with their ideas, with their funding, with their expertise, and
Yeah.
with their lived experience too.
Mhm.
So none of it gets done unless you collaborate.
It seems that in so many, I talked to a number of leaders. It seems like everyone likes the word leader. It means something different. I kind of associate it with bossy too, and I kind of deconstruct bossy to not mean this negative term that my daughter's teacher called her, right?
Right.
Which, but to be people who own their voice and own their calling and
Mm,
dedicate themselves to it. And
yeah.
how did philanthropy become what you decided to dedicate
Yeah.
yourself to?
I fell into it really. I needed a I needed a job, and I landed a job at the UN Foundation, the
That's a
United
good place
Nations
to
Foundation.
land. That's
It
a
was
good
a
place
great
to land.
place to
Yeah.
land. And when I landed there, I actually realized that my strength was in creating partnerships, and in understanding. understanding people, understanding needs, and matchmaking.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize that before. So in a lot of ways, I got very lucky because there were two people at the United Nations Foundation who hired me, both for different reasons, but I think they both saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
And because of that, I stepped into a role where I got to learn, I got to grow. I had the opportunity to do so many different things because it was just an all hands on deck
Yeah.
the situation. And I found my calling. And I didn't expect that. I really expected I would be working in historic preservation and policy and trying to ensure that, history and, older buildings were preserved and saved. And I ended up finding my voice in a totally different place. But that felt right and felt like home for me and allowed me to grow and evolve over time. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for having fallen into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to apply for the job that sounds interesting
Uh-huh.
and hope it's a great interview. And
Yeah.
that's really how I started.
That
Um,
so I think that, I think life guides us a little
yeah,
bit, and some is luck, and some is maybe fate, if you believe in fate,
yeah,
or higher powers, or whatever it is.
yeah,
And then we we find it. I love this idea of collaboration too, and I also really love the program of teaching women about philanthropy. I
yeah,
was reading an article by Bank of America, which came out in 2024. And it
yeah,
said that men are twice as likely to become involved in philanthropy because of their spouse or partner. And it
yeah,
said that women shoulder the responsibility of introducing their children to philanthropy.
mm,
So when I was
yeah,
thinking of your project of this creation that you've made, it has a ripple effect
yeah,
beyond just the women. I mean, it would have been amazing if it is just the women, but it
yeah,
ripples out to, the whole family or friends and
yeah.
all of this. How did that project come about? You're such an idea person. You have
Yeah,
all these
I know. I
ideas,
love to
and they're like,
build.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Um, I think it stemmed um probably for me, I recognize that women learn differently and we just do things differently. I went to Ursuline College, which was originally a women's
Mhm.
college, and um it was really focused on how women learn. Um, and I took that experience, my college experience, and really expanded it as I moved into philanthropy and recognized that I would meet these amazing, amazing women who would kind of turn to me if they were introducing themselves and say, like, I don't know how to introduce myself. I'm not anything.
Yeah,
And I would look at them and be like, hold on, yeah, yes, you are. One, you're an amazing wife, you're an amazing parent.
yeah,
But two, you're a funder of Alzheimer's research, you're a funder of reproductive health. You care about these things and you bring other people to the table. You are a lot of things
yeah.
and own it. Um, but I think what I recognized from a lot of the research that we had worked on commissioning at the foundation is that women often give more in aggregate than men, but they
Mhm.
spread it across many, many organizations. So it's really not recognized
Yeah.
that women are actually giving more. You see a man making a big,
And their name getting
their
put on a
name is on
building.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? But women are spreading it across because they see the need and they're
Yeah.
not looking necessarily for the accolades for
Yeah.
it. Not that all men are
Right.
either,
Yeah.
but but women. I find also really want to understand what they're giving to.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they have some expertise in it. So a lot of the work that I did building the Maverick Collective and Maverick Next with Kate Roberts when she was at Population Services International, um, was about how do we help women gain the confidence
Mhm.
that they need to feel like they can make those big gifts and make
Right.
them to one place. So
Mhm.
Maverick really started with this idea of if you can give women the experience both of working with philanthropy professionals, of being on the ground, understanding the work firsthand, meeting recipients, understanding the challenges, designing the programs, then they have that hands-on experience that helps them understand, like, okay, this is the holistic way of giving.
Right.
And they can take that on where they don't need to have that type of experience every time they give, but they'll take that on and kind of overlay it into other things that they decide to give to.
Yeah.
And I think we found with Maverick, both the collective and Maverick Next, is that it was really a fundamental learning for a lot of women.
Mhm.
Um, and then we took what we learned from Maverick, worked with Women Moving Millions, which is a group that's really just about women givers, an amazing, amazing group of women philanthropists, and said, well, what will women need to feel like they can serve on boards,
Yeah.
to really expand their giving, to be advocates, to have a voice? Um, what is the training that they might feel like they need?
Mhm.
And so we worked with Women Moving Millions to create a curriculum for philanthropy for women.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so, like, how do you read a balance sheet if you're going to be on a
Right.
board?
Yeah.
Things like this, just the things that you might need to feel like you can confidently be in this space and own it.
Yeah.
So it's been an amazing, I think, an amazing journey. And over the last, gosh, 12 or 13 years, we've really seen the women's philanthropy space shift
Yeah.
completely. And to watch, hundreds and thousands of women like really own their voice and their giving is
Yeah.
just truly incredible. It's
Yeah.
inspiring.
That's what working with another project I do with Cartier and learning about Cartier
Yes.
philanthropy and meeting some of the NGOs that they work with and
Yeah.
learning about the programs of like, education for kids and how to get parents to let the children go, and all these different factors that play into it. And you really start wanting to invest and give when you get that hands-on piece and
Yeah.
that learning. Because for so long I was always like, oh, I'm just a mom. Um,
Right.
and you have that imposter syndrome when you start moving into these other spheres. So that's an amazing work to kind of cover all of those bases for women.
Yeah. No, and it's important. I think, when Melinda was at the foundation,
Yeah.
too, it was her own experience of stepping into this space. And for her, in a really big way, um, without, it was definitely her choice, but
Yeah.
she wasn't trained in it.
Right.
And so it really was for us, like helping connect her experience with other women's experience,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter if you're Melinda Gates or someone else, you're all having the same experience when you're stepping
Exactly.
into something
New.
new and big.
Yeah.
And that has some risk associated with it.
Yeah. I think also philanthropy, kind of going back to the men piece, a lot of times we think of it as receiving big media attention or public praise about, people in Chicago are one of our museums is now someone else's name on the museum,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like a wing or all of this.
Yeah.
But how do you define success in your work where the results sometimes might seem invisible or so spread out over a long
Mm.
term of, some of these world ish, a lot of these world issues don't just go away. So how
Yeah.
do you measure success for these?
Yeah. It's an important question. It's a hard question to answer too. Um, when I think of defining success, I think of it in terms of did did we address a problem at that moment, and did we serve people who needed the support in that moment?
Hmm.
So that's one piece. And then the other piece is, was there something lasting from that influenced how work is done in the future, influenced others to give,
Yeah.
influenced policy, influenced kind of the environment that people are in,
Hmm.
and knowing that there are ripple effects from your giving, right? You will give, um thinking, all right, I'm going to ensure that these kids get vaccinated for, say, measles.
Right.
But the ripple effect is bigger than that, and it's hard to measure, right?
Yeah.
So you're ensuring that they are, hopefully surviving past the age of 5, that, the ripple effect is hopefully that they're getting into school,
Yeah.
that they're, they have a livelihood that comes after that. And that's really hard to measure unless you're doing it over many, many years.
Right.
Sometimes you just do what's right, and help in the moment that you can, and know that you've made a difference
Hmm.
in at least one person's life, but for the most part you're doing it for many, many people.
Yeah. That's I think one of the amazing things about the Gates Foundation is the scope of the programs. And how many people you do touch and reach. And I think a lot about the programs for women and girls. I heard that women tend to donate more to the programs for women and girls than
Yeah.
men do. It sounds like I'm saying something bad about men. I'm not. They donate
No,
to a
no,
lot of
no.
wonderful things. But
Yeah.
for this scope, it's really tends to be women focused from what I've read. And I was wondering, what do you think the most pressing needs are for women and girls today? It's probably different in different,
The
areas,
world.
but
Yeah.
how do philanthropy and partnerships help address them?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that is a huge
I know.
question.
I realized as I was saying it,
Yeah,
I'm like, there's
no.
like papers written about
Oh
this.
my gosh,
Yeah.
there's books. I
Yeah.
have them behind me. Yeah, I think it really depends on where you are in the world. Um, but if I were to say generally, what do women and girls need right now? Um, Across the world, I think is autonomy for their bodies, for their health,
Yeah.
for decision making,
Hmm.
um, and whether that's the decision to go to school or send your kid to school, whether it's a decision on your reproductive health,
Yeah.
and um, if you are ready to have children or not ready to have children,
Right.
whether it's decisions about um, your child's health,
Yeah.
whether it's no matter what sex the child is. Um, so I think autonomy is really, really important. Um, in all of these things, the other, I guess, other thing I would want to emphasize that women and girls need are just access, right? Access to education,
Yeah,
access to a pathway, um, to have livelihoods, to be able to have an income. We
yeah,
know that when women have money, they spend it on their families, they spend
yeah,
it on their communities. Um, but we want women to have access to being in leadership roles.
yeah,
Um, when we have more women in leadership roles, we have more equity in
mhm,
the system. And it takes a lot to get a woman, a girl to survive to the age of 5, to get her into school, to get her into secondary school,
mhm.
into a college, and then into the work, the work world, and then into a leadership role.
Right.
And she needs support all along that way. And that usually comes from her mother, her community. And so, any place where, as a philanthropist, I think we're all philanthropists, doesn't matter if you're giving $5 or $5 million. Whatever we can do to help women and girls along that path, we should
Mhm.
be doing, whether we're women or men,
Right.
because, you know, everybody needs more equitable policies, more equitable laws.
Yeah,
And whatever we can do to have more equity in leadership the world will be better for it.
yeah,
Um, but I think the needs are so great,
yeah,
across the entire continuum. But I think really thinking about how do we help girls get through school,
yeah,
and grow into the leaders that they just naturally are.
yeah. That's one of the things that with the Cartier and philanthropy and Amal Clooney was working with schools to also teach girls programs even just to how to say no with
Yeah.
their bodies, with and educating them about their rights that they have too, and when they do have right, like some
Yeah,
places
in some
they don't.
places they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just these very basic pieces that are life changing, for our own for our own kids, for kids everywhere, these life
Yeah.
changing pieces that are seemingly simple but get so much more complicated when there's all these other societal pieces.
Yeah. The norms around women and girls, depending on where you are, can just be so complicated.
Yeah,
So I think having any autonomy that they can have just becomes so critical.
yeah. How do you how do you work to try to create these initiatives that are sustainable and not just charitable? Because there's a big
Um,
difference between them.
yeah. Well, I think, um, this is where like collaboration and partnership becomes so important. So when you're working in a place like, India, or in countries across Africa, or really anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
being in partnership with local governments, with regional governments, with federal governments becomes so important,
Mhm.
because you want you want to ultimately, like in so many cases where the Gates Foundation and other funders work, is in piloting programs
Mhm.
and, um, proving if they work or if they don't work. And if they do work, then working with governments, with other funders, um, and including other government funders,
Right.
um, to come in and help scale those programs becomes so important. And that's how you go from that charitable to something that is more sustainable over
Yeah.
time. And granted, not every program can have that sustainability, at least in the world that we're
Right.
operating in
No,
right now.
that's true.
Um, Donor government funding has dropped precipitously over
Yeah.
the last couple of years, but especially in 2025. And so not everything can be sustainable,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that it's still not the right thing to do for people in that moment. And there's also, looking at how does your funding help create new
Yeah.
models for the private sector? How do you help subsidize the cost of really critical goods for people,
Yeah.
that they can get them at a lower cost?
Mhm.
All of that goes into how do you make something more sustainable
Yeah.
over time? But it all nothing, like I think how we started, nothing happens without collaboration and
Yeah.
partnership in finding that. And so I think, whether you're an everyday donor and really trying to identify the right organizations who are leading those types of partnerships, or you're a philanthropist, it's really the same process. Who are your people and your partners that are going to come
Yeah.
in and make this real, hopefully scale it, and hopefully make it sustainable where you can.
Yeah. And I would be remiss not to ask about and talk about how you and Bill Gates created the Polio Eradication Fund, which is probably one of the most ambitious global health efforts in history.
Yeah.
Um, but why polio and what makes this issue so urgent?
Yeah, great question. So let me take a step back and say that we created the Global Polio Eradication Fund, which is a philanthropic fund that actually supports the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which is the
Okay.
global initiative, which is made up of the UN Foundation, so where I
They're
started.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can tell my story about that. But UNICEF, WHO, Gates
Hmm.
Foundation, and Rotary International
Okay.
are all part of this global eradication initiative, that was really started by Rotary in 1988.
Wow.
And it's important. Eradicating polio is expensive, but it's important because when we eradicate it, it will be only the second ever human disease to be eradicated, right after smallpox.
Wow.
There's only one other disease that's been eradicated in animals, which I'm going to forget what the name of it is right now. But so that's only two diseases ever in human history to be eradicated.
Yeah.
Polio has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Like, you could go and see hieroglyphs
I had
show
no idea.
that show people with limps
Right.
because they had polio as a child. So it's a disease that's been with us for so long, and it's been controlled. There's only under 100 cases in the world today, but when we eradicate it, it actually proves a couple of things. It proves that science and ingenuity, human ingenuity, can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And we can inspire the next generation, multiple generations of doctors, scientists, individuals, that if you are resilient enough, you're creative enough, if you are inventive, you
Yeah.
can eradicate a disease that that will no longer impact people. It will also save the world billions of dollars every year. And then that money can go into eradicating something else like malaria, which is on a pathway for eradication also. Um, so what what I was able to work on with Bill was to really bring a group of philanthropists together, to say, okay, if we join forces, we can actually get the Global Polio Eradication Initiative so much closer to eradication
Mhm.
by ensuring that they have the funding that's
Yeah,
needed to reach kids everywhere in the world.
yeah.
And so for the last, gosh, we started that in 2013. So for the last 12 years, we've been working with philanthropists to move money into these programs
I heard
and
seven
ensure
hundred million
we're up
dollars.
to about 950 million
Wow.
actually as
Wow.
of this year.
That's amazing. I'm like applauding. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we're like, it's just incredible that people have been willing
Yeah.
to come into something that they didn't understand necessarily, or really like they weren't really affected by it,
Right.
but they saw the possibility of what it could mean to
Yeah.
eradicate this disease and to ensure that no kid anywhere is impacted by it again.
Yeah.
And then what it means for future generations and what potential they have.
Yeah.
So it's been a really humbling experience to see people come in and say like, yeah, I'm in. Let's
Yeah.
do this.
It's almost impossible to imagine the sheer number of children helped. Our brains can comprehend like 5 people or 10
Yeah.
people, but when it gets to these numbers, it's almost like it's hard to even imagine. But what did that teach you about hope and persistence
Mm.
and what philanthropy can do at its best?
Oh, yeah. Um, I think polio eradication has taught me a lot about persistence. And actually, I've learned a lot from Bill about persistence. Because even in the hardest years when we've seen cases go up,
Mhm.
um, you recognize that people are resilient, programs are resilient, and it's just incredible what you can support.
Yeah.
I think what it's taught me about hope is that no matter who we are, no matter how much money we have, we care about other people and we care about one another. And we recognize that we can make a difference in
Yeah.
people's lives and that having great wealth also means you have a great responsibility
Yeah.
for other people. And I think that's just been so inspiring to see people come to the table and say, okay, I and I can do this. It's the right moment. Um, and I believe in this. I think personally for me, it's taught me a lot about just how how to bring people along in something that they don't know about,
Right.
and to do it in ways that they learn, that they will digest information. And sometimes, that's in writing. Sometimes it's a briefing. Sometimes it's, experiencing something on the ground. So I think everything that, you know, I think for everybody who's been part of this,
Yeah.
it's been humbling in some form or another. And we've all gotten to learn that, especially there's so much about the polio eradication program that became so relevant in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And, the donors that we had been working with understood what disease surveillance was because they'd been funding polio for 5 years
Yeah.
at that point, 6 years. And that's a key component of it. So
Yeah.
when they're
Right,
hearing about it during COVID, they're like, oh, that's the polio program helped make
right.
that possible in so many places in the world.
Yeah. My dad, my brother-in-law are both doctors. They trained at Mayo Clinic. So I grew up
Uh,
um surrounded by these discussions, which make
um,
me so interested in this part. It's not just polio that you all work with, it's reproductive issues and just I mean countless, you know, things because we are a resilient but a fragile species that
yeah,
needs help. And I was thinking of you recently stepped into the global partnership development role, not more recently,
yeah, more recently,
because I
yeah,
think you've been with the foundation for 20 years,
17 years.
13 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like,
Hmm.
I was like, I remember
A long time.
yeah. Oh, I'm not a math person, so I try my best with numbers. Yeah, fourth grade math is killing me with my daughter. But what vision do you carry forward into this role, and what kind of legacy do you hope you don't seem like a legacy person. You are so collaborative and I love it and it makes my heart so happy, but you are leaving a legacy.
Oh, thank you.
Um, and what do you hope to build, I guess, with this?
Yeah. So, I mean, my vision for this team, which is made up of an amazing group of people around the world,
Mhm.
is that we are able to work with philanthropists anywhere in the world. Um, and like I said, philanthropists are people who are giving $5 to $5
Right.
million to $500 million,
Yeah.
and really empower them to find the things that they love and that they want to make a difference in.
Mhm.
And I hope that we can convince them that some of those things overlap with the work that we do at the foundation and with our partners. And really, that together we can help all kids everywhere have a healthy, productive life.
Mhm.
Um, but more than anything, helping them move funding into where it's needed most. And I think working with this team of incredible professionals to be the best that they can be
Yeah.
too, and really live up to their potential. And so I love the opportunity that this team gets to work with philanthropists anywhere in the world, really help them think about what they want to be doing in their backyard and globally. Um, and then for me, really building a team of people who love doing this work and want to build, want to grow, and want to support people around the world is just awesome. And then, of course, all of the work that we do is ultimately to support people on the ground who need it.
Yeah.
And so, if it means, if our work means that, one person survives, then that's incredible, right? That is the amazing thing that we get to do and bring what we do well, to play. We may not. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but this is partnership is what I can do and what I can bring.
Uh-huh.
And so it's, if nothing else, that is the legacy. And hopefully, um, ensuring that other people can see work like this as a career. It's not something you go to school for. It's not something you maybe graduate college saying, like, all right, I want to go create partnerships.
Yeah.
But I hope that people will see this work as valid and important and part of a holistic system that can
Yeah.
make the world better.
You know, in my high school yearbook, they asked what you wanted to be. And
Yeah.
I wrote in mine that I wanted to be a philanthropist. That was
Oh,
my
amazing.
thing, which is maybe why I was drawn to you and your work that you do. And for someone listening to the podcast who wants to support meaningful change, whether through financially or influence or time, we're big in our family working with animals. That's our,
Yeah.
thing, which is important too. But what guidance would you give them to do it well, with integrity, with purpose,
Mm.
and with empathy?
So I would say find what you care about. And usually that starts in your backyard. It
Yeah.
starts at home. And so whether it's animals, my son loves animals too.
Yeah.
We'll be giving for Giving Tuesday tomorrow. I'm going to triple his donation.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then the foundation, the Gates Foundation, will triple my donation. So
Oh, that's so
it all
great.
works
It
really
all adds
well.
up.
It does. But I think you find what you care about. Um, and often that starts in your backyard and then it grows from there. So whether you're reading a newspaper and you're reading about, gosh, like I've been reading a lot about what's happening in Sudan
Yeah.
here. What are the organizations that are working on the ground there that where you're funding, whether it's $100 or $50,000,
Right.
that you where you can make a difference
Yeah.
and use things like Charity Navigator and Candid to do, background research on the organizations that will tell you
Because
a
that's the
lot
problem. You
about
want to know that education piece. So that's good. What are the names of them again?
Charity Navigator,
Okay.
um, Candid, GuideStar.
Okay.
They're all organizations. ProPublica, you can look up a lot of things on there too. Um, but you can do your vetting of an
Yeah.
organization there, um, and just give. All your money will make such a difference, and you won't even know how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah.
Whether you're giving it to the group that's supporting food insecurity in your community or somewhere else in the world,
Yeah.
that funding is going to get used well. It's going to get to people who need it. Um, but I always say start with what you know and what you see, and then grow from there. I would say the best philanthropists read a lot. So
Yeah.
they take what they're learning in the newspaper or in reading. My philanthropist, Bill, is constantly reading The Economist.
Yeah.
So
That's a
you take what you
constant. Yeah.
yeah, you take what you learn and you go from there. And don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone or to send an email to an organization and ask them for information.
Yeah.
Um, I will guarantee you they want to talk to you about their work. They don't, they wouldn't do it if they didn't love it. So don't be afraid to ask. Um, and then I would say every penny you can give. Um, there's so much need in the world right now,
Yeah.
and you just can't go wrong by making a donation to, locally, nationally, or outside of where you live. Um, and it's scientifically proven that you will feel better after you make a donation. It
So there's
actually,
a so there's a little part for, feeding into that human nature part of us too.
there is, it will, yeah, those endorphins will come into play.
Hmm.
And I think that's where your empathy comes in
Yeah.
as well. It's, you might have been impacted by cancer in your family.
Right.
Give to the hospital that treated your family,
Hmm.
or give to the research organization that's focused on trying to find a cure
Yeah.
or a treatment.
Yeah.
Um, you can't go wrong by
Yeah.
giving.
No. And then my last question for you, maybe this will make you uncomfortable. I apologize ahead of time, but you have one of the most powerful forms of leadership I
Hmm.
have seen. Um, and when did you realize that choosing to lead more quietly behind the scenes,
Hmm.
um, was what you were going to do? And do you realize that it's powerful what your
Yeah.
leadership? It's beautiful and amazing. And I'm not trying to, I'm too, I'm like from New York originally. I'm not like I'm too brutally honest, radical candor, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it is so powerful and you are getting things done
Mm.
with how you do it. So how did you choose to do it this collaborative way versus, being like, I am going to be, I don't know,
Yeah. I, I, well, I guess maybe first to the leadership piece. I don't think you realize you are becoming a leader, growing into a leader until somebody points it out to you.
Mhm.
And I think that's just many, many women experience that because you're just driven
Right,
to do the work and
right.
to do it well and to have an impact. So I think it was maybe only 2 or 3 years ago when I like kind of took a step back and looked and thought, oh yeah, I guess I am a leader of philanthropy. Look at that. That happened. I
Yeah,
don't know how it happened. Um, but I think the leadership journey is one of just being curious, of being persistent, of being willing to take risks,
yeah,
um, of pushing perfectionism to the side or tamping it down, even when it's rearing its very ugly
yeah.
head.
Hmm.
Um, and being willing, like being open and willing to say, I don't know, but let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Um,
My daughter says, everything is figure outerable. And
yes.
I'm like, and I use that all the time. Problems so
Yeah.
often, especially if you work with other people, are figure outable.
They are, because you get the wisdom of, you have your own wisdom that you bring into things, but when you collaborate with other people, you bring in their experience, you bring in their wisdom,
Mhm.
you bring in, you have their experience, their expertise, and you learn from it. So by collaborating, you get all of that, and then you take what you've learned into the next thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, you are kind of spreading that wisdom
Mhm.
and then sharing it with other people. So I think that journey, I think it's just the life journey. And maybe some people are, at 22 saying like I'm a leader and I'm this. I don't know that you always know what you are when you're that young. And so being willing to be on the journey, and oh my gosh, if you know that you're a leader at 22, amazing.
Mhm.
Not everybody
No,
knows
yeah.
that.
I'm an introvert, so I'm like, no, that sounds horrible to me. That sounds like I don't want to do that at all. Yeah.
No, no. But I think that journey and growing your
Yeah.
your leadership over years,
Yeah.
um, is so important. And then one morning you wake up and you're like, oh, yeah, hey, I did stuff. Look at that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, your stuff that you wake up in the morning and realize that you do is saving, I could cry.
Oh,
Um,
don't cry.
so many lives.
I don't want to cry.
I know I'm like, I don't even normally cry. I'm not that person, but I love children. And is making such a difference to
Mm.
them. And I think you remind all of us that empathy isn't a soft skill, it's also a strategy for progress. And you are tapping into the best of people to create radical change. And
Mm.
that is, I think, the most bossy thing. The
Oof.
biggest, leadership accomplishment because it also is making people best versions of themselves too when they're doing this, working with the women and empowering them and changing how they see their roles, which is, affecting lives of millionaires, multi-billionaires, affecting lives of people who are struggling just to make it. You reach the whole spread of
Yeah.
humanity through your empathy. So I think that, people listening today can realize that you can be bold and use whatever resources you have to make a difference. So thank
Yeah.
you for having this conversation
Oh,
with me.
yeah,
Like
no.
I
Thank
said,
you.
I was so looking forward to it. And it is a honor to talk to you about the work that you're doing and the way that you live it out. So thank you.
Thank you. This was
Yeah.
fun.